This week, we check out new indie adventure read-only memories. Jonny chats to TT Games about the upcoming release of LEGO Marvel's Avengers, and we find out more about the deliciously artistic open world of Below. This is Player Attack. Hi, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this week, Valve has been apologising to gamers who choose to play on Mac. Turns out, while the company's been hyping us all up about the Steam Link and the Steam Controller, neither of them actually work properly on Apple-branded computers. Steam Link doesn't stream, and Steam Controller doesn't support gamepad emulation, so basically neither one does anything like what they're supposed to. Valve blames temporary software issues for the problems and offers all affected customers a full refund for the devices if they don't wait for them to be fixed. But the company goes one step further, giving affected Mac gamers an impressive gift by way of apology: the Valve Complete Pack. That is, all Valve games, past, present and future, free of charge. Even if the customer decides to return the Steam Link or Steam Controller, the games are theirs to keep. Moving on to some happier, less apologetic news, the hype is real for Fallout 4. The game has officially gone gold, meaning Bethesda has sent the discs off to the manufacturers and it'll be in our hot little hands in next to no time. If you are picking it up on PC though, be warned, it's not shipping with the entire game on the disc. As we're seeing more and more often these days, and as was the case in Bethesda's recent releases of both Wolfenstein and Skyrim, you will need to activate Fallout 4 on Steam and download a bunch of extra content before you can play. Now, if you are looking for something to drink while you're downloading, or while you're waiting for the game to be released, or while you're playing, or maybe while you're exploring the wasteland, Bethesda has teamed up with Carlsberg UK to create a light-coloured Pilsner lager with a refreshing, zesty, hoppy taste and a floral aroma. The brew is officially and simply titled Fallout Beer, and it's only available in the UK via Amazon. In more good news, the price of the PlayStation 4 is dropping all over the place, with both Australia and New Zealand reporting a shift in the right direction. The new Australian price is $479.95, but remember that is just a recommendation and many stores will pick their own prices, be it higher or lower. Keeping with the local positivity, Aussie developer Pretty Great has reported that debut title Landsliders has been downloaded more than 1 million times since launching on the App Store just a few weeks ago. It's the brainchild of Fruit Ninja creator Luke Muscat and gives you the options of playing as a UFO collecting cows, a developer collecting paperwork, or a boulder collecting adventurers as you slide the map around underneath your character. Deceptively simple, this one is largely responsible for the particularly painful bout of tendinitis I'm currently suffering. Another Aussie developer doing pretty well for itself is Team Fractal Alligator, with the news that latest released Hacknet has grossed more than $650,000 in just 10 weeks. To celebrate, you can grab the soundtrack right now via Steam, and we promise it'll make every keystroke feel like you're in some sort of 90s cyberpunk movie. Moving on, but sticking with music, and Harmonix employees have been sprung leaving super positive reviews of Rock Band 4 on Amazon. "This game is great," reads one. "There are a few flaws with the game, but it is completely outweighed by the music selection and the addictive gameplay." That one was signed not a Harmonix employee, and the 5-star review is just one example of the more self-aware reviews popping up on the website. The developer has stated publicly that these false reviews are not considered appropriate actions and has adjusted its internal policy before asking the well-meaning reviewers to edit their words to make it obvious that they did in fact work on the game. Following on from last week's esports special, it seems that Activision is also taking professional gaming seriously, announcing the formation of a new esports division with MLG co-founder Mike Sepso and former ESPN and NFL Network CEO Steve Bornstein at the helm. Bornstein has said that he believes esports may soon rival traditional sports in terms of popularity, and it looks like Activision wants to be firmly on that bandwagon. The news follows the announcement that the Call of Duty League will hold regional competitions and boast a $3 million prize pool. It lasted longer than we expected, but US channel Sci-Fi has declared it will not produce a 4th season of MMO tie-in TV series Defiance. The series, which launched in 2013, told the story of the future town of Defiance, located near modern-day St. Louis. In this post-apocalyptic town, humans and aliens coexist with varying levels of comfort. Tryon Worlds has confirmed that the game of the same name, set in the same world, will continue. It went free to play in June last year and is apparently enjoying great success. New Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is the latest public figure to speak out against Gamergate, labelling himself a proud feminist. In a recent TV interview, he name-checked the social movement and highlighted video games misogyny in popular culture as another issue people need to stand against. And finally this week, the production company behind Furious 7 has announced it's making a movie based on one of the world's most popular online games. Nope, it's not World of Warcraft, not League of Legends, not even World of Tanks. Instead, the film is inspired by Crossfire, a South Korean first-person shooter that has a reported 500 million strong user base. Original Films has also worked on 21 Jump Street, I Am Legend and The Green Hornet, but this is the first time it's dabbled with video games. Crossfire is the first Korean game to be licensed to Hollywood, with the film studio planning to focus development internationally and helping to promote the brand. Right now, most Westerners don't know much about Crossfire, but that's all about to change if Original Films has its way. For more information on any of these stories or to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, head to playerattack.com. But for now, stick around, got plenty more still to come.
I'm Jonny Robot, and we are standing in front of a wonderful looking Hulk, and guess what? We're talking Lego again. This is Lego Marvel Avengers. Arthur, what is new this time around?
This is, I guess, a spiritual successor to Lego Marvel Superheroes. Lego Marvel Avengers is a celebration of everything Avengers. This is comic books. This is also the stories of Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron, the movies, retold in Lego form with all the voice work from the movies. And really, this is us basically going and kind of doing a specialized field, specializing in Avengers. So, this is everything Avengers. There's a whole new cast of characters. We've got returning favorites, obviously, from the first game, Cap and Black Widow and everything. But then we've got new characters, like, say, Ulysses Claw and Vision and Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, who are in Age of Ultron. And then a load of characters we've not revealed, which are kind of like classic Avengers-themed characters.
So you got me right there. So this is all Avengers, all everything. Yeah. Can we maybe possibly expect to play as Jarvis, the little butler man, not the computer version?
Who knows? Maybe, quite possibly. We're not revealing anything yet, but it's one of those things. If people are curious about which characters are going to be in there, do your research, read some old Avengers-related comics. You'll kind of get where we're going with this. This is going to be a really great experience.
Not limited, because pretty much everybody is an Avenger.
Well, yeah, and that's what makes it cool. It's like, yeah, you might think, oh, Lego Marvel Avengers, is that just the first movie? No, there is so much content that we've got to play with.
And you said it focuses around Avengers 1, Avengers 2, has all the voice actors as well. So is it a unique storyline woven in between, linking them all together?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because obviously the two movies, if you bookend them together, there is a hole in the middle. So, yeah, we've actually stitched that together with something which kind of like, it tells that story. Some of the things that people will have seen in some of the post-credits of some of the other MCU movies, they kind of tell that story of like what's going on and then introduce straight into Age of Ultron. So we're going to be using some of that material to link the two movies together. We don't even start the game at the start of Avengers. We actually start it with the opening sequence of Age of Ultron, because that's all about retrieving Loki's staff from Baron Strucker. And that then segues into, so that's like, this is all action, this is amazing, and then it segues into, so that's the staff. Now, if you remember, this guy, the other, gave it to Loki, bam, let's go straight into that, the Battle of New York, let's really go crazy. So it's a really fun experience. Nothing is taken too seriously. Even the most iconic moments, we're going to inject some humor in there. Lego games are about fun. It's like games should be about fun, but Lego games most definitely. And in the office, myself and the rest of the team, all we want to do is make sure there's great fan service and an incredibly fun game.
And mechanics, always fun with the Lego stuff, is everybody has their own little nuances. Obviously, there might be some returning ones, but we can expect some new bombastic, crazy powers.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And not only that, we've kind of like taken up a notch from the first game in terms of the characters that do return, the core Avengers characters. You know, in the first game, you couldn't just suit up as Tony Stark. This time round, as you unlock the Iron Man outfits, you can just pick any, and it will suit up according to that suit, how it should suit up. You know, when you see the Mark 42 or the Mark 5 or, you know, whichever one it is, the Mark 7, that's how we're going to try and make sure that's how you suit up in the game. You know, characters like Black Widow, as she gets into the Age of Ultron outfit, because they change outfits obviously in the movies, you know, she's going to have her electric batons instead of just, you know, the Widow's Kiss. You know, Captain America's been completely revamped in terms of his combos, but also Avengers is about teaming up. In the game, something that's new, the Avengers, you can pick any Avenger and team them up with another Avenger to do like really cool, unique combat moves. They're kind of like, you know, I guess the best way to describe it would be like a smart bomb. You're getting overrun with, say, Chitauri guys or Ultron sentries. You know, you team up, you do yourself a combo, and boom, you're going to take them all out. But each one is unique. So there's a load of cool stuff there. Avengers Initiative mode, which is a whole mode where you have to team up to solve and you know, complete puzzles. We've really tried to go to town on this one.
And you were mentioning there lots of teaming up, so I can assume there's a real good multiplayer element to this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, co-op is always first on our minds when we design stuff. This is no different. But what we've now managed to do is, as well as the classic sort of team up, like tag-in co-op, we're also teaming up within that. So we're kind of teaming up a team up. But it makes it so much more fun. And again, open world's back. So yeah, there'll be an open world New York, a load of new crazy stuff there to explore and uncover and find. And people should have a ball, absolute ball with this game.
You sound so passionate about it, which is so much fun. You've really closely been working with Marvel on this as well?
Yeah, and yeah, that is such a great relationship. You know, obviously we did that with the first game. Now we've got you know, an even stronger relationship, a stronger bond, and we go to meetings where we're supposed to be talking about like relatively serious things, and very quickly after 5 minutes, it kind of just devolves into like talking about comics, and we, you know, oh, do you remember this issue or that issue? And you know, those guys are great because just in those conversations, things actually come out of those conversations. It's like, hey, we could do that in the game. Hey, we could do this. We could, and it's such a collaborative process. It's, you know, it's really great working with those guys.
San Francisco, 2064 AD. The world is on the cusp of a new form of intelligence, and only you are capable of uncovering the truth behind it all.
Labelled as a queer cyberpunk point-and-click adventure, Read Only Memories certainly comes with a lot of labels. It's one of the first major LGBTQ adventure games with any significant budget. It was crowdfunded, and it's been put together by Midboss, the team behind the Gamer X conventions. So yes, there is an expectation, or 6, that have been applied before the game's even loaded, but Read Only Memories seems strong enough to hold up. Let's start at the beginning. You are an unnamed freelance journalist living somewhere around the poverty line and picking up whatever job sounds like it might pay the bills. In the early part of the game, you are unexpectedly joined by a ROM named Turing. ROMs, relationship organisational managers, are pretty prevalent in the world of Neo San Francisco in 2064. They are handy household robots, working as a sort of hybrid personal assistant and Wi-Fi hotspot. Specialised variants are used as maids, police staff, maintenance workers, and even cameramen, but Turing, the little blue-faced one, can actually think. Turing is the world's first sapient machine, created by your old friend Hayden as a bit of a proof of concept. The problem is, Hayden has disappeared under some pretty mysterious circumstances, and the ever-loyal Turing wants to find out where he's gone. Or where he's been taken. And that's about it. The rest of the game follows you and Turing as you attempt to crack the case. It's simple and familiar enough, particularly if you're fond of Blade Runner, which is perhaps why Mid-Boss has been able to play around so much with the way it's presented. Alongside Blade Runner, Snatcher, the 1988 cult favourite and one of Hideo Kojima's earliest works, is perhaps the most obvious influence on read-only memories. Both games feature a similar letterboxed 16-bit pixel art style and a point-and-click interface, but read-only memories is much more reminiscent of the classic LucasArts Scum games rather than the visual novel adopted by Snatcher. The gameplay itself is charming, sleek, and classic. You'll soon find yourself trying to combine everything with everything else, because even though you don't know how an ID card and a cup of cold coffee could create anything useful, the game might have something in mind. And for the veterans among us, I'm happy to report that anything that can be interacted with will be highlighted as you pass the cursor over it, so the old school pixel hunting days are not making a comeback here. Most of the interaction with read-only memories, inevitably, is through dialogue, which lets the game's writing shine. Each character has detailed backstories and quirks, and it's a refreshing change, but it can get a bit heavy-going if you don't want to know a random acquaintance's life story. And that is the fine line that read-only memories treads as it carries all of its baggage around. Many characters in the game are different in some way, which means less that they're queer and more that they've spliced animal genes into their own, or they now sport a creaking robotic arm. In the world of Neo San Francisco, these alterations are becoming the norm, with these hybrids now facing backlash from society. I didn't find that read-only memories forced its opinions on me, but I can imagine there are people who won't like being asked to choose pronouns from a list of more than simply he and she, and they might also object to the significant number of non-straight friends and hybrids you'll meet in-game. That is a great pity, really, because it's exactly those people, the ones who do object, who should be playing games like read-only memories. The game was designed to promote inclusion and diversity, to add a decent chunk of characters who aren't middle-aged straight white males into the mix, and to make people think. The end result, perhaps, is a game that appeals primarily to people who are already interested in those things, who are aware of the issues, and who are already going out of their way to find this sort of content. The retrotastic art style, killer chiptune soundtrack, hard-boiled storyline, and bargain price tag might attract a few outsiders, but the people who object to kisses between characters of the same gender or different species are unlikely to get their hands on something like read-only memories, which is a great pity. They could really learn a lot from Turing.
Brian, what is Below?
Below is a game at its core that is about survival, exploration, and you're just a small character that's come to the island to explore, and you go down in the depths and discover what's there. And, while you're there, you encounter lots of enemies. There's a lot of tough combat involved, but also a lot of story and puzzles and things to discover.
One of the things I discovered straight away is it's very tight mechanically. Like, combat's pretty on par. Do you want to explain a bit about that?
Sure. I mean, we wanted the combat to be, very challenging, so there's lots of enemies that can kill you quickly, but we want it to be, exactly as you said, tight. You want to be able to learn from an enemy how they behave, and, you might get your butt kicked the first time you encounter them, but you'll learn how to fight that enemy, and over time, you will get better at doing so.
And the thing is, though, if you're not good enough, you die.
Die. Dying is expected, and in Below, if you die, that character is dead for good. So while the world will regenerate, and like the maps and everything all change, they're procedurally generated, but there are things in the world that you can impact persistent change going forward. So if, say, as a character you had found a cool sword and you really wanted to go find that and use it again, you could, in your new life as a new character, go and explore and find that old corpse and find those items, things like that. You might maybe have opened some doors, they might maybe stay open, so you can impact persistent change in the world, even though it is a procedural and has some roguelike qualities.
So basically the caverns will eventually be full of corpses.
There will be many corpses, you're expected to die a lot.
And the art style is pretty striking as well. How did you get inspired to do that?
Oh, I mean, yeah, we put a lot of work into the lighting, and our artists back at Capy are fantastic. I mean, we're really happy that almost every little screen of Below is just a fantastic scenery piece on its own.
As you said before, the lighting. Light is a very important part of Below.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially the deeper you get, the darker it gets. And using your light wisely, conserving your torches and things like that, so you have light, so you can see where you're going, but balancing that with, holding the shield instead of a torch, so you can still be defensive. We always want you to play with that balance.
Now, for new players come into this and may not be familiar with roguelikes or brutally hard games, what pointers can you give?
I mean, with Below, we want you to experiment, Go out, learn. If you, say, stumble across a trap, walk on it, die, that's fine. You've learned something. You now will be able to identify that trap in a future play. And, as you play more and more, you'll learn from those experiences and you'll just get better. So don't be afraid to try and experiment. It's what the game's about.
What actually made you go into that roguelike permadeath state? That's a pretty bold move.
Yeah, I mean, we really like the idea that it is challenging. We don't want it to be a cakewalk. We don't give you regenerating health. We're happy to have the player themselves sort of learn from their experiences rather than you just level up or grind out and get better. We don't want you to be able to do that kind of thing.
Now, it's an RPG at its core as well, kind of. Does it have gear and unlockables?
Yeah, I mean, so there are some elements in that sense. You don't ever level up a stat with a character. That character is basic, but you do find different gear. So you can find, you start out with a sword and shield, basic combo, but as you explore, you might find a hammer or some bows and arrows, things like that. And so it is the gear and things you find that you can use to sort of tone your play style to what you like, or even potentially, you might try and use the right weapon to go into different areas because you're going to fight this one type of enemy that you like using a certain weapon with.
Exploration, I assume if I played it for long enough and didn't keep on dying, I'd come across some sort of boss creatures?
Yeah, I mean, there will be definitely some sort of boss-like creatures, bigger encounters like that. I mean, it's up to the players to explore and find them.
And that's about it for this edition of Player Attack. Thanks for watching. Next week, we're talking hockey as Jonny Robot catches up with EA Sports to chat NHL 16, and we hang out with Gearbox to discuss their new one, a brand new FPS named Battleborn. In the meantime, you can catch us at the redesigned playerattack.com. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and if you've got something you want to say, send us an email, mailbox@playerattack.com. Till next week, I'm Jessica Citizen, and this is Player Attack.